welcome to week 7 of U.S. History 1301. Week 7 of your 8-week course. You guys are almost complete. You have just one more week to go after this, so please keep up the good work. Please keep working towards finishing your goals, and you guys can complete the course. Let me know if you have any questions when you're doing so. But this week you have your weekly quiz that you have to complete, your discussion and response to your peer that you need to do, and you have your essay that you are submitting. As you guys are putting on the final touches to your essay, if you have any questions for that, please let me know. Send me an email. I'm happy to help out with anything regarding your essay or any other assignment that you need. So this week in class, you guys are going to be reading about events that are leading up to the Civil War. Particularly, you will read a section about John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry. So we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But first, I'll quickly mention Bleeding Kansas, which you will also read about. But from 1854 to 1861, there was a large debate in America over whether or not Kansas would enter the United States as a free state or as a slave state. This ended in a lot of violent confrontations known as Bleeding Kansas, and a white man named John Brown led a lot of volunteers during Bleeding Kansas, fighting for the abolition of slavery. He was really unhappy with the abolitionist movement and how it was going. He didn't think that it was successful or strong enough to end slavery. And he said of the abolitionists, "These men are all talk. What we need is action, action." So John Brown advocated the use of an armed uprising to abolish slavery. So in October of 1859, he led a 2-day raid on the Federal Armory at Harper's Ferry, Virginia, which is today Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. So the armory is no longer around, but it existed behind me where this hill and these flowers are right here, and there's a little tunnel there. But the armory did exist here behind me. So Brown's goal was to start a slave liberation movement that would spread south, providing slaves with weapons that they stole from the armory here behind me. He did ask both Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass to join him in his raid on the armory at Harper's Ferry, but Tubman was sick and could not join him, and Frederick Douglass did not think that his movement would succeed. So he took 22 people, John Brown took 22 people, including his son, to raid the armory at Harper's Ferry, get weapons, and arm slaves so they could revolt and get freedom. Once they raided the armory, they had a violent confrontation. 7 people were killed, 3 of which were African American. 1 was a free man, and 2 were slaves that were killed by John Brown and his men, and 10 people were injured. After they attacked the armory, they came over here to this engine house that you see behind me, and this is where John Brown, his men, and their captives stayed for the remainder of the 36 hours that they had control of the armory. Within 36 hours of their attack on the armory, Brown and his men were either killed or captured by farmers, militiamen, and U.S. Marines, which were commanded by Robert E. Lee. Stonewall Jackson, who is another very famous Confederate general, was among the men that did capture Brown. John Brown was tried with treason and murder. He was found guilty on all charges and he was hanged. He was the first person executed for treason in the history of the United States. His raid on the armory at Harper's Ferry crushed any hope of compromise between the North and the South, so it pretty much made sure that amends could not be made between the two, and the Civil War started just over a year later. Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry is really relevant to today. It touches on a lot of topics that we're still talking about, such as inequality and racism, violence, and the right of the individual to defy their government. So as you guys are reading about this week in your book, and as you guys are working on discussions with everybody, please make sure that you are trying to make connections to today. So since Brown's raid in 1859, how has our history and our culture changed on the topics of race, violence, and defying the government? Think about that, and I will see you guys next week. It's your final week in the course. You will have your quiz, discussion, and your final exam, which will cover chapters 5 through 8. As always, have a great week, and please message me if you need anything. I'm here to help. Bye.